What's up, St. Louis? It's your host, Luke Farrell of the STL Bucket List Show. The STL Bucket List Show is driven by Bomarito Automotive Group. Bomarito is Missouri's #1 car dealership with over 20 locations, so I guarantee that there's one in your neighborhood. Since the 1970s, Bomarito has sold over 1 million cars, and John and the entire team made us feel completely comfortable when we picked up our new vehicle recently for the family. So I can't thank the Bomarito team enough for driving this episode forward, and enjoy the show. For 50 years, Bankhead and Firth Orthodontics has been proudly serving the vibrant St. Louis community. As a family-owned and operated practice since day one, the commitment to excellence and personalized care runs deep. They believe in giving back to the wonderful people of St. Louis who have entrusted them with their smiles. Step into the 5 locations across St. Louis with modern offices equipped with the latest orthodontic technology. Their 3 amazing doctors are dedicated to providing top-notch, innovative treatments tailored just for you. Join us in celebrating 50 years with Bankhead and Firth Orthodontics, where your family becomes a part of theirs. Schedule your free consultation today and let them help you achieve the confident, gorgeous smile that you deserve. Because in St. Louis, your smile is your legacy.
Hey St. Louis, Birch Tree Recovery is the newest outpatient mental health and substance use recovery resource in St. Louis. Birch Tree is truly doing it differently. Our science-based humanistic approach, along with a talented team of clinical professionals, will ensure that your time with us is life-changing. Birch Tree's approach to treatment is rooted in research and data. We reject any judgment and shame that may exist and challenge you to live the life you deserve, free of labels and stigma. If you or someone you know is struggling with mental health, call us. We can help.
If you want to hear about St. Louis, tune into the Bucket List Show weekly. Hear what Marissa and Luke say. It drops every Wednesday. Got a dope new guest every single week. Buckle up for the ride. Who's it gonna be? Who's on the show today? They rep St. Louis. What to do in the loo on a late night, or maybe what to do on a date night. Yeah, Bucket List has you covered. They know what's going on. What's going on? They'll give you, hey, 18 different things to do, or 19 if you need one more to choose. Yeah, this city is a place we call home. A place we call home, yeah.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the STL Bucket List Show. I am your host, Marissa Farrell.
And I am your other host, Luke Farrell. And we just have to shout out our listeners for continuing to listen to this show and continuing to grow. This is episode 138, and we wouldn't be here without you guys highlighting the people, places, and events that make St. Louis special. Of course, our partners over at Bomarito Automotive Group, Four Hands Brewing Company, Birch Tree Recovery, along with all the other companies that have been along for the ride to help us fund this and to help us do this each and every week and to get to do it with you. I know we've been taking some weeks off with the baby at home, but
motherhood calls, guys. But I'm here this week, and we are going to talk more about motherhood today. So today we have a very special guest. We've got Sara McCarty of Run Wild, My Child. Hi.
Welcome, Sara.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're so excited. I always enjoy whenever we get to talk anything about families and dynamics. Probably even before we had our daughter Mila, I just think moms rule the world and families
True
and are
story.
important, right? It
Thank
is.
you.
It's so true. So just to kick it off, we like to ask our guests just a little bit about your upbringing and are you a St. Louis native? Did you grow up here? A little bit about your family life. Dare I say, what high school did you go to? Those kinds of things. Let's get into it.
Oh, well, you'll be disappointed to hear that I am not a St. Louis local. I did not go to high school here, but I'm from Louisiana, Missouri, which is about 2 hours, hour 45 minutes north.
Oh, yeah.
A teeny tiny little town right on the Mississippi. Grew up there and was a very forced to be outdoors growing up in the country kid, and that kind of rubbed off on what I'm doing now, which is this whole website, blog, podcast, magazine, all about getting kids outside.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. So coming from a small town, how did you end up in St. Louis then?
Law school.
Yeah.
I was a very much a country kid, and I think like most kids wanting to rebel and do something that was completely different than the way I grew up.
Yep.
So I moved to the biggest university close that I could find. I went to Mizzou.
Nice.
Ended up in St. Louis for law school, met a guy from St. Louis, and ended up staying here.
Started a family.
I know. I was convinced I was moving abroad and living this travel lifestyle. I studied abroad. I tried to get out as much as possible.
Yeah.
And here I
Here
still
you
am.
are. You're only 2 hours
There
from
you go.
home, which,
There
hey,
you
you're
go.
far. Some of the people you grew
I
up with
know.
are
I
still
mean, we
there.
have
Sure.
stoplights here in
Yeah.
St. Louis. That's a big,
Yeah.
a big
Wow.
upgrade.
Look at you doing big things, right?
So I want to talk about Run Wild, My Child. So for the people that are listening, obviously we'll put your website in the show notes and your social medias, but in its simplest form, like tell us what your guys' mission is and tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, so I started Run Wild back in 2017. Before that, I guess it would just be like an average mommy blog.
Sure.
Mhm.
I was a lawyer. I needed a creative outlet. So I thought it would be fun to run a marathon. And while I was running, I thought, okay, well, I'll write about it to help fundraise. And I liked the writing part a whole lot more than the running part. So the running kind of fell to the wayside, but the writing continued. So I kind of kept that up through wedding planning and then some infertility stuff. And then when babies came around, it was just all things kids. Very much a traditional mommy blog. But as my kids got older, I started getting a little nervous about putting so much personal content about them
Yeah.
online. However, I still loved the aspect of writing, of being accountable for going out and doing fun stuff with the kids. I loved the taking pictures. I loved the storytelling.
Mhm.
I loved the community that I had built. And I kept thinking, like, what am I going to do with this? So I took a hard look at kind of what was doing well on the mommy blog and thought, they get a lot of questions about how do you go camping with kids and how are you fishing with kids and what gear do you guys use and
Yeah.
where are you doing all of this stuff and how can I do it too? And I kind of shut the mommy blog down and started Run Wild thinking, well, there are blogs out there about climbing mountains and hiking the Appalachian Trail, but there's nothing about like how to get to the park with your
Yeah.
kids,
Mhm.
without having meltdowns and what do you need to pack and how are you doing little stuff? Like where do the beginners start? So
Yeah.
Run Wild was kind of born out of just
Those
a lot of
questions.
questions coming in about what we were doing. And we were figuring it out as we went.
And people were like, well, first of all, Run Wild is kind of the name rings so true because you were running the marathon at the beginning
Yeah.
and you were starting your
Yeah.
writing journey.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you went through law school, you were always writing and writing and writing, but it wasn't like writing about, like you said, being creative and these different things. And I think we found the same creative outlet, especially her. She's an English major and, teacher and you love to write, but I love video, I love photo. So like we started as like kind of a blog as well.
Storytelling,
Yeah.
too. Right.
And now, like social media, I know we talked to before this. Now we've had to shift our strategy to like these videos, and they're great, but they're so short, and there's like other outdoorsy people that are doing great videos. They're super high quality, but they're so short. Like you just forget about everything because there's so much content.
Yeah, we've kind of found, like, I love the video too, but I feel like because of our mission of trying to get kids off screens, and one way to do that is to get the parents off screens too, we have found that we kind of have to get off screens too. So when everyone's going digital, we're trying to go a little more analog, which
You got
is
a magazine here.
we have an actual physical printed,
Tangible
hold it
item.
in your hands magazine.
Yeah.
I mean, this is so old fashioned. My kids are just like, it comes in the mail.
But that's like so, I just feel like it's unfortunate sometimes that we've like strayed from that because there is something so exciting about like subscribing to something that you're really interested in and tangibly holding it, flipping the page, folding a page down because you're like, oh, look, there's on the back of here, there's the camping supplies and like what I can take. It's just, I don't know. It just feels different. And I'm old school too. And I just think it's just better. It just feels better.
It feels really fun to do this, to put it in just a visual, tangible medium that, I mean, I never expected this to be, a book or a magazine or anything other than living online and to actually see it and hold it. It's a dream come true. A dream that I didn't even know I had.
It's amazing.
Mhm.
So you have 5 issues? Is that, or do
We
we have
have
more?
2 issues that are printed, and then we
Okay.
had 3 before this that were digital.
Uh-huh.
It started digital, and the more we got into this and the more, like, the prettier it became, we realized, like, we have to get this in print.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how often do you get to print?
So it's quarterly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Seasonal.
One per season, and
Alright.
each season is themed. So
Mhm.
there is a theme, and most of the stories go along with the theme.
Mhm.
And there's a challenge inside that goes along with the theme as well. Challenge, a way to get parents and kids outside. And there are activity lists. There's a kids section in here with jokes for kids, nature crafts, a creature feature. We
Mhm.
have an amazing team of writers that put this thing together, and every issue just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah.
So what's the process been getting this off the ground? As you started writing on your own, now you have a team. Like, how did that accumulate over time?
Yeah, so I think a lot of it back in 2017 when this all started was a little hard work, but also really good timing because everybody was looking for ways to get their kids off screens and outside. And then COVID happened, obviously, and the world had to move outside and away from indoor events and activities. And everybody was looking for suggestions and ideas on how to get outside. So this kind of blew up in a way that I never expected. But it's back in 2019. I realized that I was at max capacity with what I could produce and what I could put out there and on the website regarding the things that I was doing with my kids. I'm here in St. Louis. I'm not downhill skiing with kids. I don't have access to a beach.
Mhm.
I just didn't have a lot of the content that I wanted to put out to be well-rounded. And I didn't have older kids. I didn't have babies anymore. I had kind of kids
Mhm.
in traditional schools,
Tweens and
right? And I
Yeah.
wanted homeschooling families. So I kind of opened up applications online to join our creative team, thinking like maybe I'd have like a handful of moms that would be interested in writing once a season for the website. And I opened up applications and had thousands of people apply. And I
Wow, good
was
for
absolutely
And
you.
these are your
blown.
followers. These were
Yes.
people that were fans.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
were just, regular moms that also were passionate about getting their kids outside, had, a lot of ideas on ways that they could help. They wanted to talk about it. They wanted a platform, but they didn't necessarily maybe want to have their own website or their own blog.
Mhm.
So we were giving them a voice and a platform,
Mhm.
and they could, instead of running their entire website, they could just have,
Share
publish
an
section.
content
experience.
And
here
then they
and
can
there.
share it on their personal social
Yeah,
medias
yeah.
or just share or just write.
Right.
Just to
And then
write.
they wanted to be a part of a team. It was
Yeah.
something where, we were kind of working with them on kind of how to be an influencer,
Mhm.
how they could get their own brand deals, how they could improve their photography, how they could become a better writer, any kind of SEO. We were kind of all working together
That's
to
amazing.
develop some of these skills for
Mm.
each of them individually
Cool.
as we were working through the content as well.
So
Wow.
what's the where draw us a map?
Yes.
Like if you just give us a couple, like where are these women located? Your
So we have
writers.
all over the country. So we
Mhm.
have everywhere from Washington, California, Arizona, New Mexico, Florida, Maine, Michigan. I mean, kind of all over the
Wow.
All
U.S.
across
I have
the
yes, I have
That's
a couple like
fantastic.
right here in the Midwest. I have one right up the road,
Mhm.
and then we have Europe, Argentina, Australia, Canada. I think that's all right now.
You
So
have
this is
reach.
our third, I guess, iteration of the
Mhm.
team.
Mhm.
So back we opened up applications in 2019,
Mhm.
and those people came on and they kind of worked on the team for a year or two. And some of them have stayed this whole time and are
Mhm.
still on the team, and some of them have kind of got what they wanted and moved on. Circumstances changed. They had
Mhm.
more kids. They went
Mhm.
back to work. Different things. And so we opened up applications again. Same thing. Thousands of people. We go through every single one and try to figure out like what holes do we have, what do we need.
Wow.
But everybody's a mom. We've had dads.
Mhm.
We've had aunts and we've even had grandmas apply. We've had people without kids apply that they just wanted to be a part of this.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It's been pretty amazing.
Wow.
But yeah, everyone's a mom for the most part. Everyone is pretty savvy with a camera.
Mhm.
Obviously, they have very different like outdoor skills and
Yeah.
interests. They have different ages of kids. We have
Mhm.
everybody from kids who are in college all the way down to pregnant
Mhm.
moms
Infants,
on the team.
pregnant.
So it's
Yeah.
pretty exciting to be able to, and that helps when we work with brands because we can kind of offer them whatever they want. What are
Yes.
they looking for? What kind of location do you want? What ages of kids are you looking for?
Mhm.
And it gives us a wide variety.
I
That's
think that's
amazing.
really cool. Like when you are a mom, because obviously those stages change for you. So as your child's growing, you have other voices that have addressed that point in time or, again, if you're pregnant right now, you can get some insight.
Yeah,
So,
it's really been amazing. I think this has been probably the coolest part about being a part, being running this business at all is I never expected to have a team and for these women to become such good friends
Mhm.
and to become kind of mom mentors to me. A
Mhm.
lot of them have kids who are older than me, kids in high school, kids who are in college. So I see them and get to ask questions, just like I hope our community sees all of us.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Questions about the college application process and what are you doing for high schoolers with phones? And
And
I mean, there are just a
cars and
lot of
yeah.
questions that come up that it's really awesome having a community of other moms who are really prioritizing spending time outside and not on screens to ask
Mhm.
questions to.
That's amazing. So I wanted to ask about like there's this aha moment where the hobby turns into an actual now this is a job,
Yeah.
and it's although it's a creative outlet, sometimes it's there's always a moment in there that's like, okay, wow, this is actually working. Ours was it was I don't know. This was probably 4 years ago. We've been doing this since 2019, but a local business paid us $50 to make a post. And when that happened, they just sent me the picture. I just posted it on my page, and then they Venmoed me $50. And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And I was at my other job, and I was sitting at the desk, and I was like, "I just made $50 in 2 minutes," and thinking I'm like, "Okay, obviously I had to build a community and all that," but like that was like an aha moment where I'm like, "Okay, wow, we actually offer value to these local businesses." Did you have a specific aha moment in your journey? Was it when you first put out the applications, or was it something before then that was like, "Oh my gosh, like I'm onto something here. This isn't just a fun blog that I'm spending hours like late at night like writing and doing all these things."
Well, I think there were two. One is that definitely when the applications came out and I saw how many people were interested,
Yeah.
that made me realize like this is something that people want to be a part of,
Mhm.
Exactly.
and this is kind of a movement. This is something more than just spending time outside.
Mhm.
But I didn't turn it into like a full-time job until years later, after COVID, when it was time to go back into the office
Mhm.
and my law job was asking me to go back, and I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I loved being home with my kids. I realized how much they needed me. I loved setting my own schedule and being my own boss and
Mhm.
cultivating this community, and I just couldn't give it up. So
Mhm.
my husband's like, "Okay, you've got 1 year. What can you do?" So here we are, and
Good for you. You did it. You made it
Wow.
something.
Yeah.
So you talk a lot about the important aspect of being outside. And so is that a shared mission with all of your other mom writers? And like, is that something that like when you're reading applications, you're like really looking for this element of like, how do you get your children outside and explore and connect like with nature? Like, is that a big part of what you're doing here?
yeah, I mean, I think every mom on our team feels the same way
Mhm.
that the outdoors is the place where their kids really come alive. That is where they see the biggest improvements in health and mood and
Mhm.
just their behavior. I mean, I think what what really made me start to want to write about this was that, I saw the way my kids behaved when we were outside. It made me a better mom going outside. I didn't have to say no all the time. I
Yeah.
didn't get down, stop doing that. Like, I wasn't so distracted in my house trying to clean everything up, trying to follow behind them. We could go outside and they thrived and I felt better. And I
Mhm.
couldn't believe that everybody wasn't talking about this thing called the outside.
I
Like, this was this parenting
Right.
hack
Yeah.
that I thought I had like
Correct.
discovered. And why wasn't everyone shouting from the rooftops about, oh my
Go
gosh, just go outside.
outside.
That's all you have to do.
Yeah.
They get along better, they sleep better, they eat
Yeah.
better. Everybody feels better at the end of the day. And I just knew that like we had to spend more time outside.
Yeah.
We had to do everything that we could. And we were already doing a lot, but kids come along and then those first few months we really were stuck inside,
Mhm.
not really knowing how to get outside with a baby.
Mhm.
And the more we got outside with our first, the more we realized, oh, okay, we can do this. And then by this time the second came along,
Mhm.
she was outside from the day one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it took us some time, and we just kind of wanted to share that. And I think everybody on our team has kind of discovered this magic thing called outside,
Mhm.
and they all feel like this just makes you a better mom.
It's so true because like our daughter is 8 months and like she was born in January and like I mean I luckily was able to like recover really well from our delivery and we were outside. I feel like again January it was cold but we had her bundled and like I'm like I need to be
I
outside like
remember our first
mental and
walk
we went
too.
on a walk
Yeah.
and we brought her
I think
out.
it was the first
But
day it was
then
over like 40. It was like, it's over
yeah,
40
it was,
degrees. We're ready to go.
warmer, right? And
Yeah.
so like we put a picnic blanket outside and let her crawl around and like she thrives. And like just if she ever had a fussy moment, take her outside for a walk and it was like instant
Yep.
cure. Like it was
Mhm.
just crazy. And so do you feel like one, do you have any like science behind that? Because I'm sure that there is, right? Like there is science. Get
There's
outside,
definitely a lot of research
know.
about what being outdoors and being in green spaces or being in blue spaces do for
Mhm.
kids and adults. I mean,
Mhm.
it helps with stress, it helps you sleep, it helps with inflammation, it
Mhm.
helps with your immunity. I mean, there's a ton of research out
Sure.
there that shows just how amazing this is. I mean, it helps just being outside and giving kids the ability to free play,
Mhm.
unstructured play where you're not directing them and telling them what to do. They're exploring on their own. They're, playing with sticks and throwing rocks and climbing up rock piles and whatever it is that they're doing. It's so good for their development, for all of their senses, for their sensory issues,
Mhm.
just helping with balance, coordination. It helps them it makes them more creative. It helps them, burn some of that energy so they can sit down later when you're back
Mhm.
inside and focus. It really is kind of this magic cure all.
Yeah. Do you feel like this is just an opinion question. Like, do you feel like it can be rare in the sense of like, I just feel like we're also almost in a weird time where like parents are like, here's a tablet and
Yeah.
here's the TV and like, don't bother me. Like, do you feel
Yeah.
like that is almost more prominent than getting outside? Or do you think it just depends on the household?
I think screens are a really easy way to occupy kids
Mhm.
and keep them entertained. It takes effort to go outside, and
Mhm.
especially if you have little kids, because you have to go outside with them.
Yes.
And that means you're not getting the things done that maybe you need to get done as well. So it does take a lot of intention and prioritizing getting outside and being active outside. You have to really set a lot of foundation when you're outside with your kids. You have to model that you like being outdoors. If you're out there and you hate it and you're
Mhm.
just checking your phone every 5 minutes and waiting to go back inside and
Mhm.
complaining about the weather, your kids are going to know that.
Yeah.
They're going to pick up on it. So when you go out with your kids, you have to show them how to be outside and
Mhm.
how to enjoy it. And I mean they naturally will, and but it will take a little bit of effort, at least initially, getting them interested in things and figuring out what to do outside. And
Mhm.
I think I've read somewhere that it takes around 20 to 40 minutes for kids to kind of figure things out in order to start playing independently, for
Mhm.
that unstructured free play to really start happening.
Mhm.
So if you're only outside for 15 minutes
Calling it quits.
right, then you don't
Right.
even get to that point where your kids are really thriving and
Mhm.
Mhm.
doing amazing things on their own.
Yeah.
That's
And I think kids, all of us want our kids to be more independent
Right.
and to figure out how to play on their own and to do all these things. But initially, it's going to take us showing them how and hand holding,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and that takes time.
Yep, yep. So even you talked about like as parents, we've got a million things that we have to do too, but your kids, let's be honest, they just control our schedules. Like it's just the
Mhm.
way it is. And so I think we could talk about mental health minute and
Yeah.
just check in with we partner with Birch Tree and so we like to focus on like things that people do to practice mindfulness and mental health and being a mom that can take a toll and
Mhm.
so you're already addressing great things in terms of being outside and how that can definitely help with mood and all of these other things but is there anything that you do personally just balancing business run wild and momming and running a house and how exactly are you taking care of you and having moments for yourself.
Well, I hike without my children.
I thought you said hide. I'm like, you're like, I hide. And I'm like, oh,
No,
wow.
hike.
That's hiding.
I hike.
Yeah.
Hike without your
I
kids.
No, I do love. I love hiking, and I try to get out as much as I can during the week while they're at school, kind of on my own.
Yep.
I need just some clarity, some mental space. So I will pick a dog or two dogs. We have two. One is more home more often than the other because one is a hunting dog, and my husband. It's dove season.
Sure.
She's occupied, so the little one goes with me, and we hike. And just having the white space in my head to process is I really think that is a game changer. Just getting outside, being in the woods, picking a trail close to home, something easy to do that doesn't feel overwhelming or too far away or too ambitious, and making it happen, putting it on the schedule and making it.
Put it on the calendar.
Where's your favorite place to go to hike?
I think close to home, I really like there's a hike called LeBark Creek. It's right outside of Eureka, which is great. And then I also really like Rockwoods Reservation, which is beautiful. I will just go to Powder Valley or to the Sculpture Park because I'm from Kirkwood. They're both right close to my house. So whatever is accessible, depending on how much time I have.
Right.
I think, whatever is closest and easiest is the best hike.
Exactly.
That's
and whatever
right.
you can get it in. So before we get to your STL bucket list, I want to ask another question. So one of the things that I struggle with, being an influencer, running an influence page and media business is when you're out doing these things, it's like, how do you, like, when you have your camera and you're like, oh my gosh, it's like, I'm going to take some really great pictures today. I'm going to write about this. But like, sometimes it's just like, you guys are going on a date. Like we'll be like at a restaurant and it's just us, but I'm like, oh, like, it'd be really cool if we posted about this restaurant, even though it wasn't originally set up for that. So how do you do that? And like, obviously, like, I'm sure your husband or somebody is like, okay, like, we're not working today.
Mom.
I'm sure that happens because she says that to me
All the
sometimes.
time.
Yeah. Like, how do you
Like, we're actually
separate
not
being-
working today, but I'm like, I could though. Like, this would just be an extra little push for this little business that we just visited.
Sure.
you know?
It's impossible to get away from it. I mean, especially when you run your own business and it's right there in the other room, and it's so tempting to just, to
Check
do
in.
that. I think some of the things that have helped, one, Run Wild isn't necessarily about my kids anymore.
Yeah.
As opposed to the mommy blog that I was doing before that was all content about us. Run Wild is more community based. We post a lot of, images from our community, from our writers, from our content creators, and it takes a lot of the pressure off of me to constantly be in my kid's face with the camera. I am still in my kid's face with the camera
course.
all the time.
Naturally,
I mean,
right?
I am a mom and I'm a photographer, and I love the storytelling through photos. And as they get older and they understand more what I'm doing and what I'm creating and how it makes money and how it helps them do things like go on trips and be get gear and different things, they're very interested. I mean, they understand what YouTube is and influencers, and they don't necessarily think that I'm, anything special by any
like the other
means,
YouTubers
right?
that they watch. Yeah.
like
they're
real people.
Yeah, real YouTubers.
Yes,
Right.
this is just mom.
Yeah.
But I do think, especially my 12-year-old is to the point where he's getting it and he's thinking ahead about like, oh, we could style a shot like this, or we could do these things, or we could offer this mountain bike company this in exchange for me getting a new mountain bike, So his wheels are turning,
Yeah.
and he's kind of
That's
coming
good.
to the point where he realizes this is a business.
Yes.
And that it takes time, and sometimes you have to take the pictures and stop the fun for a minute and grab the shot and do the work.
Yeah.
And we try to do that up front as much as we can,
Yeah.
especially on like paid travel trips and things like that. We'll try to get as much as the content as we can up front, and then the rest of the time we can have fun.
Of course. Like, get all the stage shots before you mess everything
Yes.
up. Make it look cute, knowing dang well that it's not
Yes,
gonna
if
look
I'm
like
walking
that.
in the
Phonies
house, you were
first,
sitting in the
you
parking
know.
lot until I'm done.
You already know.
Um,
So, just talking about the magazine, one, how can people subscribe? obtain one? And then what can they anticipate? You talked a little bit about a couple things that they would see. Like, I'm looking right now at a ladybug hunt. Okay, so like little nature detectives to find the 9 different colored ladybugs throughout the pages, which I absolutely love. But what else can we see? And I know you talked about themes, and this theme is tradition.
Yeah, so the fall theme is traditions, and this came around because I think fall is one of those times a year where you really look forward to doing kind of some of the same things you've done year after year. Visiting that pumpkin patch again, going apple picking again. You've got holidays.
Both on our calendar right now.
right?
She just added
Next
those
week,
two things on my
next
calendar.
week.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Just got those
so
today.
it's kind of that it's a great time to think about what are the things that you're doing that you've maybe done before that you'd like to continue. And what are some things that maybe you can add to holidays or to, just random days? So we have a huge list in there about really fun traditions. This came from our community that we've put together. Some are around food, some are around holidays, some are around outdoor things to do. So inside the fall issue, I mean, we've got stories about traditions, about how to keep traditions alive through change, written by one of our writers who is an Army wife and an Army veteran, and they move every few years. So how is she keeping traditions alive through all of these big changes, like moving and adding a baby to the family and things like that? We have one about camping traditions from one of our writers who they spend holidays camping with extended family.
I love that.
Yeah, and then we've got mainly the magazine is for moms, but we do have some fun stuff in there for kids because we want you to sit down on the couch and flip through this together and plan your adventures together and read through like all of the fun things that you can do outside and get your kids' input, because especially as kids get older, if they're not interested or into it, it's going to be a lot harder to get them outside. You want their buy-in. So this is a fun way to kind of get them excited about doing some new things. Our summer issue was all about, it was called Invite, and it was all about extending invitations to friends and family to come outside with you. So if you're the ones getting outside, like how do you invite others along? How do we make the outdoors more inclusive? How can we make the outdoors someplace that everybody feels welcomed?
I love that.
That's great. So how do they subscribe like on your website so you can join an email list, obviously follow on social media?
Yes, you can follow along on social, runwildmychild.com/magazine, and you can subscribe. You can subscribe quarterly and just get the, each quarter, or you can subscribe annually. You also get access as a subscriber to our digital online membership called Adventure Up, and it's like an online forum, and there's all kinds of free goodies in there, resources that you can't find anywhere else.
Nice. Get all the promo codes for all
and it's
discounts
also
on stuff.
there's even places like where it's organized by state, so you can find others in your area if you want to organize meetups and different things like that. So that comes with your subscription automatically. Yeah. And then locally, we Civil Alchemy in Webster Groves and Feathercraft Fly Shop in, I guess that's Brentwood, will be carrying the magazine as well.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
You guys really need to get in on this. This is so cool. I'm here for
Even
it.
the book recommendations.
I know the book recs. It's
Yeah, we have a little book club online in the membership where we talk about the books and
darling.
Yeah.
It's everything I love.
This is amazing. You should be really proud of what you built in this community. But like you said, I love the point that it's like it's not about you anymore. It's about all these other contributors that you have. And what's so beautiful about that is then, first of all, the thing you said of like, it's not just about my kids, because your kids are in the Midwest and Missouri, but like every kid across and you're trying to find these different writers to like hit on every single kid.
And I wanted different parenting styles. I wanted, parents of older kids, parents that, have kids who have interests that are completely different than mine, parents of, kids internationally, how are they doing things, in Europe. I kind of wanted all kinds of voices on the website because I wanted parents to be able to come there and find somewhere that they connect and, something that interests them.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well done.
So it is the STL Bucket List Show.
All right.
You have a huge list printed out. If you guys are watching on YouTube right now, she has a hyperlink on the bottom there too. So I'm going to take the list with us home because I want your bucket list. But
We
Give
can
us a little
post it.
idea. So obviously, STL Bucket List was created on the people, places, and events that make St. Louis special. You're local here. You've been to all these events. You have these special traditions, and we can kind of do some tradition themes too. So give us an idea of some of your bucket list items that you love to check off each and every year. Could be restaurants, could be parks, could be outdoor places, could be outdoor patios that you can get outside and eat at.
Yes.
So give us, you have a huge list, so you can kind of
Okay.
run through.
All right. So I started with creeking because
Okay.
this is like I feel like this is such a wonderful way to get outside. And for kids of all ages, St. Louis has some pretty incredible creeks, and they're really accessible, and it doesn't sound like it would be like a whole activity, like just going to the creek, and you will be shocked with how much time your kids can spend in a creek. So
Amazing.
invest in a little net and then put them in some water shoes and just take them to a creek,
Yeah.
and you will spend
See what you
hours
find.
upon hours
And
upon
it's in the
hours.
shade too, and it's like shady
Yes,
down
and
there.
it's
Yeah.
lovely. We
Yeah.
go to the creeks in the winter and to
Okay.
like break the ice. I mean,
Yeah.
creeks are year round. So
That's
some of
amazing.
my favorite creeks, I think everybody is probably pretty familiar with Mastodon.
Mhm.
Absolutely fantastic creek. Labarque Creek that I mentioned with
Mhm.
the trail. There's a little creek that runs right along there, and it is absolutely beautiful. Rockwoods Reservation also has a creek. Even just Kirkwood Park has a great little creek.
Mhm.
It can be scummy at times, but after a good rainfall, the Sugar Creek that runs right
Yeah.
through there is really fun for the kids.
Mhm.
And
Love it.
there's a creek at Castlewood,
Yeah.
Wildwood Park. There's so many great creeks. If you want to go a little bit farther, Indian Camp Creek
Yeah, in
is
Forest
great.
Hill. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a Quiver River State Park has a
Mhm.
great little creek.
Mhm.
St. Francois has the big river, but it's in St. Francois State Park. It's very small. So
Yeah.
the big is small. It's more like a creek there. So
Yeah.
those are our favorite creeks. Fishing is
Okay.
probably our number one thing that we do.
Okay.
My husband is an avid fly fisherman. He is the president of the local Trout Unlimited here in St. Louis.
Wow.
We're very big into fishing and cold water stream conservation. So we do a lot of fishing.
Mhm.
If you want to do fly fishing and trout fishing, Westover Farms is fantastic. It's just outside of Steelville.
Mhm.
It's private, so you pay for the day, but kids don't really need waders because you can stand on the shore
Mhm.
and fish, and it is an absolute gem of a
Mhm.
spot.
Mm.
Perfect for kids, and they have guides that can help you too if you want to take a lesson or anything there.
Perfect.
Montauk State Park is fantastic. If you wanted to do like more like lake fishing, Simpson Park, Kirkwood Park, DePere Park, Tillis Park. I mean, all of these, we have so many great lakes in St. Louis. And in the winter, Missouri Conservation Department stocks them with trout. So you can even trout fish in the
Wow.
winter.
So all three of your kids love to fish.
I love
My
trout.
daughter
That'd
is
be fun.
less interested in the fishing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The process.
Yeah.
But my oldest, like his life goal is to fish
And
for
be a
like his
professional-
entire life.
Be a
Yes.
professional
Yes,
fisherman.
he is basing his high school and college decisions on
Where
fishing.
the best fish
I
are.
love that. He's like, I gotta stay
Well,
true.
at least he knows what he wants.
Yes, so
Yeah.
so fishing is a very important part of our lives right now. But we're also, he loves mountain biking, so we've been to Eureka Mountain Bike Park a lot. I love the Katy Trail. I don't think you can go
Mhm.
wrong with that.
Mhm.
Klondike is kind of a hidden gem.
Yes.
With the lake, it's got the fishing, the white sand beaches, those
The
little
view from up on the
the
ledge.
view,
that
those little
goes down.
camping cabins. We've
Mhm.
stayed there a number of times.
Wow.
Kind of some primitive glamping.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But it's really fun, and the kids love it. You can bike into town and get pizza at the brewery, and
Yep.
then bike right back, and it's
Mhm.
fantastic.
Mhm.
What else do we have? Gosh, I have so many things. I don't want to
Yeah.
take
I
up
know.
all
No,
your
we
time.
need to drop this list with.
Yeah,
like,
we actually should post this list when the episode comes out if you're open to it. It'd be really
we
fun.
could do
Absolutely.
like your graphic and then us.
What about
slide
restaurants?
over.
Like that are like, did you put any restaurants? Are there any like foodie spots that you guys love to go to that kind of mixes?
Oh gosh. I mean, anything that has a patio or
Yeah.
that's outside. So we love to like bike into downtown Kirkwood,
Mhm.
because we're, close enough that where we can kind of make that kind of a hike bike
Mhm.
outing.
Mhm.
Right.
We like that area over there by the farmers market where we can
Yes.
all sit outside and the
Mhm.
kids can play
Yep.
outside and watch the trains go by
Yeah.
and things like
Mhm.
that. Like we
Yeah.
just
It's a
we
great
love
spot.
downtown Kirkwood.
That's amazing.
Top Golf. I mean,
Mm.
if you want to be outside and be active
Yeah.
and let the
$5.
kids
Don't
play,
they do
I
like
mean,
$5
right?
Tuesdays or something that you can
Yeah.
go and
Topgolf
like
is
take your
fun.
whole
It
family
is
for
so
a
much. I
little
mean, my
cheaper?
older kids really, really love
Oh,
it.
it's
So
great.
that's something that's really fun to do.
Mhm.
Yeah, anything with a patio.
Yep.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And we do a lot of picnics too. So we'll get carry out and just take it to the park.
The best.
Really?
We do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
Balkan
amazing.
Treat Box is one of our favorites.
The best.
And we'll
You
just
can't go wrong.
I know,
Ever.
ever.
It
It's
They're
so
hits
so
good.
every
good.
time.
And it's like now they do dinner, so you can
That's
I
go
what we
like,
should
know,
do
and they
this
just
weekend.
pack
Get
it
some
out
Balkan and go on a
and
picnic.
take
Yeah.
it to the park.
yeah, we're
Yeah.
big picnic people. We got engaged in Forest Park. Forest Park's like a big, like every time we go to Art Hill, it's like that's like our thing that we did
Picnic.
when we moved to South City. So
Forest Park
um,
is a gem.
yes, it is. Yeah, so much.
beautiful.
Well, thank you so much for, taking your time for coming on here. Obviously, we learned some stuff today. We want to learn from people like you of like ways
Yeah.
that we can get our daughter out. We love being outside and we love the no screens as much as you can. And anything that you can do to limit that, I think is great. But I want the people that are listening, where obviously, your website, but on social media, how can they follow you? How can they like stay up to date? Do you have an email list?
Podcast.
Your
Yeah,
podcast?
so on Instagram we're at runwild.mychild
Mhm.
and we post all kinds of stuff there. We have a podcast that it's called the Run Wild My Child podcast. We're
Mhm.
super creative here. And
Consistent.
yes, you can
Ours
download
too.
that kind of anywhere podcast you can find podcasts. Obviously the magazine. We also have a newsletter that goes out weekly
Mhm.
and it is I will just plug that here because it is a true gem.
Mhm.
It is filled every week with ideas for getting outside, links to relevant content, fun comics and memes and jokes. And I mean, it's just, I get so many responses every time we send that out saying like how much people love the newsletter. So
Amazing.
that goes out every Friday and you can download that. If you go to our website, runwildmychild.com/100, like 100, you can get a free checklist for each season of 100 outdoor activities.
That's cute.
So one for each season. And then to get that, you just put in your email and then you're automatically on the newsletter list. So if you want to do
Yes.
that, that's two
Print it,
birds.
put it on your
Wow.
fridge.
Yeah,
check it
well, I know.
off.
And then you put it on there and you tell the kid, like, anytime you hear, I'm bored, go check
pick
something off the
something.
list
Yeah.
and then see how many you can do.
I love it.
That's amazing.
amazing.
Well, thank you so
Yeah.
much. Definitely going to check this off of our bucket list. We will be releasing that. We should do like a guest blog and release it on our website and your website. That'd be kind of funny.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
For the STL people, I don't know how localized you guys get on there, but it's cool to like kind of like plug St. Louis because I think that sometimes you get so big that you forget about, hey, all my people that used to follow me here in St. Louis, So
yes. I
you-
kept my personal Instagram as well, and
Okay.
I love throwing out gems that we can find around here.
That's amazing.
Mhm.
So we'll have to follow you on there too. So, well, I appreciate it so much, and thank you for coming on. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
This was so much
Thank
fun.
you.
See you guys next week.
Today they rep St. Louis, yeah. They rep St. Louis. They rep St. Louis.